So what we did in the last class, we saw how to read the data from the Excel file and as well as how to write the data into an Excel file. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
And for Apache PY, the one that we used it, how many jar files we have used?
24.
24.
Right? Yes. So it is difficult for us to manage when there are too many jar files are there, right? Do we have any options to automatically update the jar file by itself?
Maven.
Project.
We have it, right? Let us create a Maven project. There is a disturbance. Okay. Go to File, New, select the option called Project, select an option called Maven Project, click on Next, select this checkbox, create a simple project, click on Next. You need to specify two important information. One is group ID, second one is artifact ID, okay, which for your own project. What is group ID? Group ID
Organization.
organization. Okay. Example, I will say my organization name is Akshara Enterprises. I'll say Akshara. Okay, artifact ID represents the project name. Okay, example project is, let's say, API, right? Something like that. I just click on finish. It's already exists. So what I will do is I'll just give a different name. Okay, API auto. So it will create a project with multiple files and folders. One thing you should never forget. Let us go here, magnifier. I hope you can see this here. Here there is one Java project is there. I hope you can see the J symbol. Whereas the one that I created has M and J. M stands for Maven, J stands for Java. This is a Maven Java project. This Maven Java project has got two things. One is main, second one is test. Main is used for development purpose. Test is used for testing purpose. Testing in the sense it could be unit testing also. I think you might have heard about white box testing, right? That can be, or I can put my automation script like cell name code, or I can put my API script, anything I can dump it here. Again, in the test, again, two folders, Java and resources. Java is for storing the source code, right, where we write our program. Anything other than this, which is supporting files and all, we can store it in a resource. That is the best place. And entire thing is controlled using a file called pom.xml. POM stands for Project Object Model. What is the full form of POM?
Project Object
Model. We also have one more Java concept called POM, that is Page Object Model. That is different. That is a design pattern. This is the Project Object Model. And in this case, what we do is we specify the jar files to be downloaded. That is called as a dependency. So what I should mention it here is, once I go out of it, let me just zoom out. Copy pasting in a pom.xml could be difficult for the first time. Don't worry. Go to the second option here. At the bottom, you can see dependencies. Click on add. Specify two informations again. What are those? Group ID, artifact ID. Group ID, organization name, artifact ID, project name. As I said, version is a build number. So let us see what to do for POI. Okay, so I will say POI Maven. Let me click here. You can click. So here you can mention, just copy this and put it into a notepad. So group ID is org.apache.poi. Sorry, it is not copied properly. Once. Paste it. Artifact ID, which is POI, version 5.0.0. Click OK. Whenever you do add anything, make a habit of saving it. Click on save. Okay, and once it is done, let us go to the last tab, which is pom.xml. Now I hope you can see that there is an entry made. Until it completely downloaded, you will get an error message in case if you have any internet issues and all. So you can ignore that. Not an issue. Now I'm getting a problem. Let us see what is that. The problem solved. As you can notice, the error disappeared. Right? It takes a couple of seconds to download. I hope you can see in the right side button. And for POI, please don't forget, one dependency is not enough. You need to add one more dependency. You remember what was it?
Vovo XML.
Vovo XML. Right? Very good. Just go here. POI, Vovo XML. Search for it in the Maven website. And here it is. You can go for it. I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong place. Same thing with POI-Vovo XML. That's all. So copy this. Second time onwards, you can directly paste it. Right? You save it, it gets added, and you can start writing a program. So what you can do is create one package. Right. Excel, and you create your Java program. And then you start writing a program for that. I'm just testing it. I don't write the code yesterday. We have already done it. Okay. Workbook. You are getting it. Workbook factory. Start writing a program. This is all about it. So there are a few things you must understand. Whenever you add any dependencies, it will be listed under this option. What is the option it will be listed under? It will be listed under Maven dependencies. This is where it lists it. And where exactly it is stored? It will be in .m2 folder. Where exactly it is? Let me show you. C:\users, within that your username, within that .m2, within that repository. Right? So many things will be there. Let me take one example. Let us say one file. Okay, let us say this POI XML only. So in this example, you can see that the dependency added, I hope you remember, org.apache.py. That is what I've added. Org. Where is that org? org.apache.py. Within that, I've added POI, XML, something like that. You can see. So, which is the latest version 5.0. Here is a jar file. Okay, as you can observe, the dependency I've added. Let me just show you that. Okay. org Apache py. Under repository org Apache py. That is the organization name. Within that again artifact name, which is py. Within that again version 5.0.0. 5.0.0. So this is where you'll find the jar file. That is how it added. You will get the source code also in case if it is required. So on and so forth. Just for your knowledge sake, right? This is how it added. Suppose because of some reason you don't want to update it, put it inside a square bracket. What is the meaning of this square bracket? Do not update the jar. What is the meaning of this word?
Take the latest.
Always take the latest one.
Latest.
That's how it is. General. It's up to us. Decide what is it and so on and so forth. Okay. So taking this reference, when it comes to automation, reporting is also very, very important, right? And when I say reporting, if you use the JUnit TestNG, you will get a default reporting options, but they may not be colorful. So if you want to generate a beautiful report, there are so many reports are there. So Chandru sir will take this API testing along with extent report. So I thought of covering it, the basics, right? So we will see how to use this extent report. So first what I will do is, I'll just go with an option called extent reports. In this example, you can see that there are latest versions are available. Let me go to the doc. Okay, in the doc version, we have a Java. So here, so the entire documentation, everything is there. So here they had given a dependency also. So we'll see how to use it. Just give me a second. I'll just copy this. You copy this. You need not download it. You can simply copy this and add it here. I'll repeat. The website is extendreports.com. Let us go here. Let us go to pom.xml. Let us copy paste it. And version, I'll specify the latest version, or you can just mention whatever you know. 5.0.8 is the one that is available. How do I know this? You can just search for the Maven. Maven extend report. You can go to the Maven website. Okay. And please be careful about it. Please be careful about it. Here, there is a option called relevant codes. Whereas, let me just go here. What it says here is the same or different?
Different one.
Different.
Why? Because earlier it was under a company called relevant codes. Later point, it is taken over by another company. So while searching, you should be very careful about it. Let me just come back. So here, I hope you can see one more. Can you see this event stack? Okay, just go here. There you can see, right? Whatever the version available, you can just extend report. You can see. Here it is 5.0.1. That is the version I've taken it. Okay, remember extent version. It is under two different names because of a company change. Somebody took over and they modified it. So I will be taking this event stack. Okay, so let us save it. And in this, there are two versions are there when it goes to extend report. One is a community edition. Okay, another one is a pro edition. Okay, 1 second. Okay, this. Sorry. So you have a community edition and pro edition. Community edition is free, and pro edition you need to purchase a license. Okay, it will cost you maybe around 30,000 rupees or 40,000 rupees. That's it. Okay. Now, what is the major difference? Here you have email reporting and other features, and very important one. Community edition reporting will be generated only if you connect it to internet, right? So the reporting part is imported from the extend reports. Pro edition will work without internet also. That means once you download it, offline reporting can be done. Okay, I'll repeat it. Community edition supports online reporting, whereas pro edition supports offline reporting. That for that you have to purchase a license. Other than that, 90% of the features are same. Okay, so I'll be using community edition. So you also use the same thing, same code, everything is almost same. Okay, so in this case, let us see how to do that. So when it comes to extend report, first we need to create an object of extend report. Okay, and then we will see how to do it. Just say extend report. You can just give a name. Okay, my report, whatever it is equal to. Of course, doesn't make any sense to use the my report and say e-report. Okay, e-report is equal to new extend report. My system is a bit slow. First step is create an object of extend report. And if you look at it, the last step, I'll do it in a different way. Okay, last step would be to generate the report. For that, I use the method. What is the method I should use?
Flush.
Create a report and generate the report. This is what we do. When in the reporting, there are different types of reportings are there. Okay, only one option is available in the extend report for community edition, and there are 2-3 more different types of reports are there. So I will tell you what is it. Okay, observe this. Reporting format. Extend. There is an option called. There are other email report, different reports are there. This is a format. For community edition, only one format is supported, which is extend Spark report. Okay, that is reported here. I'll just give a name called Spark. This is a reporting format is equal to just create an object. New specify extend report. You have to give the path of it. I'll do one thing. Okay, I'll give a path here. /. It is always recommended. You can use this folder. Can you see this folder in the Maven project target folder? That is the best place for generating the report. So I'll just mention target / I'll say my report. my report dot SG. It should be given within double quote. So first step would be create report object. Last step would be generate report. Publish it. Basically, we use a word called publish. And here, so you just get the reporting format. Create report format. And remember, for free version, community edition, only one format is supported, which is extend Spark report. That's it. And here in this e-report, I'll just attach it, right? So that it will start generating it. E-report dot, I use an option called attach report. I'll just specify this. So the second step, I'm telling what type of report it has to generate. That's all. Okay. So what this report contains, usually it contains the test, pass or fail, something like that. Let me just save it. So very, very easy. You just go with this e-report. Within this, you just select an option called create test and just call the method. Okay. Example, I'll say create test. This is test one. I'll just get my test object. Let's say test one is equal to, place the cursor, create a local variable. Then I want to report something. I want to say pass, fail, and so on and so forth. So I'll just go with an option called test1.log. Status, you have to mention it. So let us see what is it. Status dot. So many status are there. You decide whether you want to say just an information or you want to say pass for green color, fail for red color, whether you say skipping, warning, something like that. Let me print pass just for an example sake. This is a pass step. Let us run it first and then see what are the other things we can do it. Let me just execute. I should have printed some message. Okay, sorry. Once. It says done. Let us refresh it. Let us go to target. I hope you can see that a file is generated. Let me open it. And if I open it separately, it would be better. It looks better. You get a test one, and the test one, it says pass. Here you have to write your full story. Okay, at what time and all. And of course, left side you can see there is a graphs is also generated. The first is a detail tab, and here is a summary tab which generates here. Now, suppose I want to report more step. What shall I do? Keep on adding it. Let me just say pass. I'll just go with other options, which is info. This is an info step. Remember, we don't hard code like this. It will be fetched dynamically. Okay, so while automating the APIs, you will understand all this. I'm just telling you the basic syntax. And what else we have? We have escape, and we have warning. Okay, and we have a fail. We have a run it, just executes. As you can see that it is printed colorfully, and look at the overall status. Tell me, what is the overall status of the test? Fail. Why? If a test case steps contains 100 steps, out of 100, if any one is failed, entire test is considered as
fail.
Suppose if fail is not there. Okay, fail has the highest priority. Fail is not there. Let me just run that. Of course, you can guess. Okay, which would be the next priority?
Pass.
Okay. No, in this case, it is this extent report is giving the skip. Okay. And let me just skip it here. Let me run. Let us refresh it. What is the next thing? Warning. Okay. And let me just put the warning. And next it goes to the pass. Let's see this here. Okay, pass. And the last one is info. That's the last priority one we have. Even if it is info, since there are no error, it will simply say pass. That's how it is. So let me arrange it based on the priority given to the reporting status. Okay. So in the reporting part, there are many ways to report it. Either you can say just a message or pass or a fail, or you can give a warning. If the test is not executed or a step is not executed, you can make it as a skip. Out of that, if you have 100 steps, out of that, if there is a one failure, then entire test is considered as a failure. So this is the basics funda, right? It is up to us how to utilize it in the framework. We have to keep on calling him. And of course, what will happen if there is another test? You can do the same thing. Right? Let me just copy paste it. So you can say test 2. For test 2, I'll do one thing. I'll just comment this. And let me have another test. I'll have a test 3. So let us the name called test 3. So we should dynamically pass all this information that you will understand in the framework. Now, right now, it's just a basics. Okay.
So the arguments it takes. Sorry for interrupting. So the
Tell me,
arguments
please.
Vinay here, sir. So create test is a method that creates test for the test methods, is it?
So create test is making an entry here. Okay, can you see the test here?
Yes.
It will create one entry, and under that all the details will be entered. Like that it will generate.
So let's say, sir, there is a XML code.
I'm sorry, there is too much of disturbance. I'm not sure is it from your place.
No, sir, it's not from my side.
Tell me.
So let's say there is a suit which has 15 test cases, 15 or 20 test cases.
Okay.
So how does that happen here, sir? Like how do I call it? How do I implement it in the framework?
Okay. You will make. Okay. Do you know the TestNG part or a JUnit part?
Yes, sir.
No. I hope you know that there is something called before and after.
Right.
In the before, you will well in advance you can make out what is the name of the test using the object that is received. Okay, or else I'll do one thing. I'll just show you one simple example and how to call this method. I'll show you. But did you understand the syntax part of it?
Yes, sir.
So let me show you one simple example. Hold on a second. Meanwhile, let us see this output here. How many tests I got?
3
tests, right?
3
With
tests.
individually report here. Now the question is, okay, how do I use all this? I'm sorry if other fellows don't know TestNG, but let me just quickly take it. So taking this, let me just create a test here. Let me add a TestNG for this.
Sir, before that, can you please show the syntax for the last part of the program? Okay, got it, sir. Thank you.
Observe. How do I generate this report dynamically? Okay, let me just show you. TestNG. Preferably, I'll take this version because it's pretty much stable. Right, and the question is, sir, how do you know it's a pretty much stable? Please observe. I hope you can see the versions. What is the usage?
2003.
What is the usage?
1001.
1001. So based on that, I'm deciding. That's all. Other than that, you can take the nothing wrong with that. Okay, I'll just say that's it. And let me add the dependency. So for your information, so let us see how to create this TestNG. Let's create package. I'll use a word called script. Okay, in the script, let me create a class demo1. If you want to create an automated test, you use one annotation called test annotation, and I will write a code public void test user, something like that. Okay, I'll give a name. And here there will be a display issue. Now, if you want to print anything, assume that I've written an automation script. First, let us see the basics of it. It's a reporter.log. This is a test engine report, not extent report. Okay, so I will just say test user, comma true. Let me right click, or I'll just click on run just for the example. It is executed. You can see the console output also if you want. Show console. You can see the console. It is printing test user. Any question till this?
No, sir.
I've created a test with the annotation test. This becomes my automation test. That's a method for it. Okay. Now, let me do a modification. Let me create one more test. Public void precondition. And in this example, I use one annotation called before method. Right. And here I'll print it precondition. The beauty of this annotation is it will automatically execute the this method, precondition method, before the test user. Let us run this and see this. I'll just click on it. So if you want to, you can go to the console and see the output here. Sorry to keep so many windows open. Can you see the output here? Precondition and test user.
Yes, sir.
So this method is automatically executed before the test. Let me just show you one more example. I'll have another test. Copy this and paste it. So in this example, I'll say test user and test product, another method, test product. Let's run it. 3 methods are there. Let us run it and see what happens. Please see the output. Precondition, test product, precondition, test user. So how many times this precondition is executed?
2 times.
2 times. Before every test, it will execute. Okay. Similar to that, I have another method, which is after method. Right. Public void. So in this example, I will say post condition. Post condition. So here I'll just copy this and paste. Post condition. Can you guess the output by any chance?
Precondition.
Precondition,
Test user.
Test user.
test user, post condition.
Okay.
Okay. Again, precondition, test product, post condition. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
That is how it executes it. Now, here if you observe, when I look at my previous example, how many times I need to create this extent report object? This one?
Once.
Once. What about the creating the test and reporting?
Multiple times.
For every test, I should do it. Am I right? Every time I have to do it. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
How many times I should flush?
Once.
Only once. But in this case, this before method or after method or keep on repeating it. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Instead of this, I can go with an option called before class. Different annotations are there. You can use it. Similarly, here you can use an option called after class. Right? Let me just use an annotation called after class. Right. Let's run this. Now let us see. And one more, you can use the priority also. Just let's run this. Let us see the output first. Please observe. Tell me now how many times precondition and post condition are executed?
Once.
Only once. Okay. So now let me start dumping my code. What is that? Number 1, creating the object of extent report. So I'll just take this, copy this. I'll go here. I'll put it in the before class. If you want to use these objects in other method, you get an error. Let us see why you get an error. Example, I want to flush. How many times I want to flush? Only one time I want to flush. So I'll just copy this. Tell me where should I paste it?
After class.
After class.
If I put it, I'll get an error. Why I'll get error? Because this
Okay.
E report is local variable. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So I'll declare it globally. So here I'll declare it.
Make it as public. Okay.
Okay, no need to do that. Just do. I'll remove the comment so that it will be less number of lines. Right. I'll do. Understood this part?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
One time create, one time generate. That is what. Now for every test, what I will do, I will go here. I'll have this particular extend report test. I'll give it here. This is the test one. And here you report whatever you want to do it. All the steps you dump it here. I mean, there will be actual code will be there. This is only reporting code I'm talking about. Okay.
Yes.
And do we write this code also? Usually we don't do that. We will have a method and we call those methods automatically. Okay. All those things you will have a fair idea when we just do it in the API testing frameworks. Okay. Similarly, I'll do. And here I'll say test use. There will be actual testing code. This is just a reporting tool here. Did you understand this concept?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it
Now
now.
let us run it. Before running, let me just delete this report. So just let me click on run. Execution is over. Let us refresh it. This is my report. Maybe small. Let us print it here somewhere. Is it printing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it is printing it. Now, you can take this to the next level. I'm not sure it may be too early, but let me just teach you that concept also. Right? Observe this carefully. Look at all this. Reporting is fine. Every time we are reporting it. Am I right?
Right.
But
Yes, sir.
what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Creating an object.
Every time we are creating a test object. Yes?
Right.
You can avoid that. How do you avoid it? Observe now. I'll write one thing. Just now we saw one method. What is that?
Before method.
Before method. Before method. Okay. Public void. I will say create a test. In this example, I want to avoid this line of a code because every time it is same code. Only difference is what the name of the argument that you are passing is different. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So let me just take this code. Let me put it here. First thing is, if you want to use it everywhere, it should be global variable, right?
Right.
I'll just copy this, paste it here. Let us not say it as a test one. Let us simply say test. That's okay. And in this example, here let us say test. Don't declare it once again. Okay. Let me just remove it. Still, the problem is not solved. We will see step by step. Still, it is not the correct one, but let us see, is it working or not? Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
let's run this. It is executed, but let us refresh it. Okay, but tell me what is happening here.
So it executed twice.
It is coming to test, no doubt about it. Reporting properly also, but name is
What?
same.
Or
See
same.
that? Name is same. Why name is same? Let us see. Let us see why name.
We hard coded, sir.
Can you see that we have hard coded?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
I want to make it dynamic. How do I do that? Okay. If you look at test-ng, so here we can accept an argument. Okay. Some I result something. I result. I test result. I test result. This is an object you can receive it. How do I know? I should have referred the test-ng documentation.
Oh.
Okay. So test here. And in this example, this is the test object, right? Test. I'll just give it a result. T result or result. Hold on a second. Dot, I use a method called get method dot get name. Get method name. During runtime, test-ng will automatically send the result object. In the result object, it will tell which is the test which is getting executed. Test method is getting executed. Let us see this here. Name is equal to. place a cursor, create a local variable, and here I'll just copy this and paste it. Now, before that, let us see. Let me comment on this. There are so many methods are there. Can you please tell me the order of execution? Who will execute first?
Before class.
Before class, and then
Before
after
the-
class at the end. Am I right? Let me just
Yes.
note it down first. Which is the annotation first? It will be executed
Before class.
Before class.
before class. Which one is executed at the end?
After class.
After class.
After class. Fantastic. Next,
Before.
when the before
Before-
method is executed,
Sir.
when the before method is executed,
Sir, before.
Before
test will-
test.
before each
before-
test. Am I right? So I get before method, then I'll get a test method. Yes.
Yes.
Test. Again, in this example, sorry, I'm navigating between too many things. And again, I have another test. Again, before method is executed. Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, we also use before test method, before test annotation, no, sir?
Yeah, it depends on which one you want. In this example, I'm taking it. See, there are so many befores are there. Before suite, before test, before class, before method. It is up to us how do we design it, right? So based on the design, we can do that. In this example, I'm deciding before method.
Okay, so I thought we used before test. I saw it writing before test. Okay, sir.
The problem with the before test is it will execute for the whole test block. You will not be able to distinguish between each test. That will, because when you look at the execution order of TestNG, before suite will execute, then before test, then before class, then before method. Here, for every test method, I want a different name. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Then the only suitable option is what?
Before method. Yeah.
Before method. Okay, so that we use it. And people who don't know TestNG, this may be a little bit out of the box. I'm sorry for that. Okay. So before class will execute, before method test, before method test. We can do that. Like that, we have one more option. After method, after method. In this case, I'm not using it. Okay, now.
Yes.
So now, let us see what happens when I run it. Tell me once again, who will execute first?
Before class.
Before.
What are we doing in before class? What are we doing in before class?
We're creating
Creating a
extent
test
report
object.
engine.
Creating extent report object. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Extent report. Okay, done.
And
Next,
report-
before method. Okay, that reporting also attached. Whichever it is there, we have done it. Creating extent report and attaching the format. What is the format? Spark.
Spark.
Format that we are seeing is called as a Spark. Then it will go to before method. What are we doing in the before method?
we are creating tests.
Creating a
Dynamically.
test.
Is it name is hard coded?
No, dynamic.
No.
No, dynamic. Right? Dynamic in the sense it depends on which method is running. Which method will run test product will come automatically. And here it will run the actual test.
Mhm.
Again, you are creating another test. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
With the respective name. And finally, we are generating the report. That is a flush we are doing. So now let us run it and see what happens. Okay, in this example, right click, run as extent test. Execution is over. Let us refresh it. Can you see that name is automatically taken?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now I have a question. If I create one more test, I'll create it. Okay, one more test. What is that? Test Zoho. Something randomly I'll create it. Okay, and I will use the same methods. Should I worry about renaming or anything, or will it automatically take?
It will take automatically.
Automatically.
So my job is every time use the object. Which object?
Test object.
Test object. I need not worry about creating extent report. I need not worry about creating the test. I need not worry about flushing it. Only one thing you should use. Use the test.log. Test.log. You have to keep on using it. Let us see what happens if I run it. Let's refresh it. Can you see that I got test Zoho and here I got the steps here.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Understood this part?
Yes, sir.
And you'll get a colorful reports. Okay, this is summary. Out of test, how many pass, how many fail. It is stepwise. Each step, how many info you have logged, how many pass, how many failure, how many warnings, all those things will come. This is the beauty of it. Definitely, you get more clarity when Chandru sir is using in the actual framework. I just taught you the basics of it. What is the basics? There are 4 important steps. Never forget. Number 1, creating the extend report and attaching the report. Number 2, creating the test. And number 3, logging it. And last but not the least, what is the last step?
Flush.
Flushing it.
Any question till this? Understood this part?
Yes, sir.
In which order you call it depends on what, whether you use TestNG, JUnit or something. If you are not using none of them, you have to explicitly write your own program. But most of the cases, we use some reporting, unit testing frameworks, either TestNG or JUnit or whatever it is we use it. Anybody else has any other questions?
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
You made it clear. Sir, always I test result will always listen from TestNG. I test result, sorry.
Yeah. If you see, let me just show you that. If you go to TestNG documentation, TestNG is Ocean. Okay, I can teach you for a month. Such much so complicated is it. Okay, 1 second.
I'll go through this document, sir.
Yeah, you
Thank
can
you.
go through that. So
Yes,
here they had given a full documentation, right? Every bit and piece they had given it. What are the argument we can send? All those things are. Okay. What are the methods? What annotations? What they can use it? Example in before method. Here is it. Can you see this section?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Native dependency injection.
So this is called as dependency injection. What is dependency? I have dependent on the test. I want to receive it here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
See, I'm depending on the test here. This before method depends on the test method. I want to get the details. So that is called as dependency injection. Now, what and all you can see this here. If you use before and test, you can use this parameter. Which parameter?
I test context.
Context. It will give automatically. If you use any before and after method, okay, and except before suit, after suit, you can take one more object. What is that?
XML test.
Here you what you are using?
After method, I
After
test result.
method. What you can receive?
I test result, yeah.
I test result. Okay, like this, if you observe it, before method, after method. So they are given what are all the things you can use. There is one more concept called data provider, what you can take it.
Yes, sir.
All are basically comes under Java Reflection API. That's a depend injection. This is a documentation. You can run.
Okay, sir. I'll
Please
do
go to testng.org and doc. It's a full-fledged documentation.
Sure, sir. I'll do that.
And as I said, you will get a complete clarity once you start implementing the framework. Which code to put where, you will understand there. This is just a basics.
Okay, sir.
Create extend report, create test, okay, call the methods, finally flush it. That is the steps you have to do. That is enough.
Yes, sir.
And in extend report, there are options to add screenshot and all, but for UI testing, it makes sense to add screenshot. For API testing, I don't think so you need a screenshot because it's all about data, okay, passing, getting, posting, something like that.
Okay.
So that part I'm skipping it. Okay, I'll repeat it. In this extend report, there is an option to attach a screenshot. That I'm skipping it. Okay, so you can just refer the documentation and go. And
Listeners, event listener, something like that, no, sir?
come again, please.
Event a listener. I mean, so there is a listener. With that listener, we can take screenshot, no, sir?
It is up to us whether you are using. If you are using TestNG, then event listener comes into picture. But if you want to add a photo, here one one method is there. What is the method?
Add screen capture. Okay.
You give the path of it, it will attach the screenshot.
Okay.
And it is not mandatory to use listener. It is up to us. How do we report?
Okay.
So this is all about extend report. More and more you learn as and when you start using it. And last but not the least is whenever you go to any API testing, so there is always you use a beautiful concept called POJO class. What is that?
POJO class, yeah.
Name is very fancy, but it is a full form. Any idea what is the full form?
Plain old Java object.
Yes, plain old Java object. Okay, what this POJO class contains? Basically, it is an ordinary Java class. Okay, I'm sorry, not good at typing. Ordinary Java class. And one of the rule is usually the POJO class will never extend any class. Right? I'll repeat, usually POJO class will not extend any class. And this POJO class will have a getters and setters method. Getters and setters method. Basically, it's a simple encapsulation that we use. Let us see how to do that. A very simple one. Let us create a new class, demo2, and here I'll use one variable, int I is equal to 10, something like that. For encapsulation purpose, I will just make it as a private, and I want to develop a getters and setter methods. I hope you can help me out. I will write a code, public void set value, right? I will write it set value. Here I can just take one argument, int I, and here I'll write a code, this dot I. You know why I'm using this keyword?
It points to the current
Reason
object.
is the variable
Global
is
variable.
here also it's a confusing. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes.
That is the reason I use this as well. Suppose if you are not comfortable, use some other variable, then make it simple. I is equal to j. I is equal to j. So then public void, I use a method called get value. Get value. So here I'll write a code, return I. But I'm getting an error. Why I'm getting error?
Because
Return
return
type.
time.
I'll change it to int.
Int.
Let me just save this. And let me have another class for calling here, or you can have a main method here only. Actually, I should not put main method, but I'm putting it. So I will say demo2 t is equal to new. How to call it? D dot. You can
Void
just
set
set
value.
value, whatever you set it, and then say d dot get value. Store it in a variable. Create a variable and say SOP of 1 second. I forgot to put it a plugin. Yes. Let me run this and put it. It is printing the value. Okay. Now, let me create one more. Moral of the story is you have a class which doesn't extend anywhere else. And okay, this is the first thing. Poacher class generally do not extend any other class except object class. Of course, why I'm saying like this, except object?
Because all class extend.
But in
from-
Java,
Every
supermost
class
class
in
is
Java.
object class, right? Next, Poacher class should have no arg constructor, and if required, other constructor. But which constructor is mandatory? No arg constructor.
No
So
arg
you have a no arg constructor here? Yes.
No.
Okay, I have it. It's a default constructor basically.
Right.
Default.
Right? I have not written that. All. I have not written that. All. So these are all the two basically things. Okay. Next. Pojo class contains. Sorry. What are the methods it contains? Getters and
setters.
getters method for its members. Okay, members in the sense variable. Okay, for its data members. Poacher class data members will be. If you follow this, it is called as simple, plain old Java object. A simple Java object, that is what you are creating. That's. Let us create one more. Create a new class. Let us say EMP. And in this example, I'll just say private int EMP ID private string EMP, okay, name. You can keep declaring it. Private string EMP location. Like this, I'll do this. Tell me how many methods I should develop actually.
Uh,
2 minutes.
three.
For each
Getter.
of them, one getter, one setter. Am I right?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Totally
6.
6 methods. So instead of typing it, you can simply go to source. So here one option is there. Can you see the option? What is the option?
Generate getters and setters.
Select this, whichever you want. Click on generate. Tell me what happened.
Oh, it automatically generated certain some.
Is
It
enough.
automatically-
Is it easy?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
This is how we should do it. Tell me, how do I generate this program? Select the class, whichever you go to the class, go to source, select the option,
Generate.
Generate
generate,
getters and
getters and
setters.
setters. That's all. And you can also generally override other methods such as toString method, you override it. Okay, why we should override toString method? Let me show you. Okay, did you understand this? How to generate getters and setters?
Yes, sir.
Now, observe. Let me just tell you.
Sir, please open that demo too once. Just want to see that.
Demo.
1 second. Sir.
No, don't worry. All the recordings are shared to
Okay.
everybody. You can always
Okay.
refer it. I hope all of you have access to the class recordings.
Yes, sir.
Yes, if you're not there, don't worry. I mean, if you want, you make a note of it. I don't mind. That's good.
It's done, sir.
Now, why there is another important method in this Pojo class, which is something like especially toString. Okay, observe this. Let me have a main method, and let me create an object emp. Emp e1 is equal to new emp, and if you want, you can set the name e1 dot set employee id 1, e1 dot set employee name Banu, e1 dot set employee location Bangalore PNG. I'll do that. Like this, you create any number of it. Now tell me what happens if I write SOP E1. What is the output of this program if I say E1?
Print the address of the house.
Let's read that. Is it printing Banu BNG or address?
Address.
Address. Why it is printing address? Reason is simple. Number one. Which method we are calling?
Print.
What are we using here?
Println.
When we send non-primitive variable to println, is it a non-primitive? E1 is a non-primitive?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
or
sir.
no? Primitive in the sense normal, int, byte, and so on and so forth. This is a non-primitive. Okay. When we send non-primitive variable as to println, it will call toString method. Which method println calls internally?
toString method.
Did I wrote toString method anywhere here?
No.
Then where it is coming from? It is actually coming from object class. Where is the toString method is present?
Object class.
Object class. And what that does? toString method present in object class returns address of the object in string format. And honestly speaking, that is not an address. It's a hash code of the object basically. Okay, this is not the address. It's a hash code of it. How do I know that? Let me just show you that example. Don't worry what I'm doing. Okay, let me just show you. E1 dot, I use a method here called toString. Let me click on this. Is it opening the toString method?
Yes, sir.
Which code, which class?
Object class.
Object class.
What it is returning?
Class.
Class name. Class name it is returning @ symbol, and hash code is get converted into which format?
Hexa.
String format. That is hash code is in hexa value, that will be converted into string format. Let us cross check it. What is the package name?
Script.
Within that, what is the class name?
EMP.
Sorry.
Am I right? That is what this method does. Then followed by which symbol?
At the rate.
At the rate symbol. Then followed by the string format of the hash code. It is printing. Understood why it is printing like this?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So if you want to change it, you can override it. How to override it? Look at this here. What is the method name? Public string to string. Yes. I'll just copy this. Let me put this method somewhere at the top only. Okay. And in this example, let us return this employee ID and employee name. I will use a word. Return EMP ID plus, I'll put a colon. Okay. Plus EMP name. Now tell me, when you call toString method, now println will call toString method from E1 is after EMP. Will it call toString method present in the EMP class, or will it call the toString method present in the object class?
EMP class.
EMP class, because this method is overridden. Yes or no?
Yes.
Now let us see the output. Now let us see the output. Same program. Before running it, let me just copy this. This is the old output. It was like this. Now let us see what is the new output. I'm sorry. Okay. Can you see the output now? Is it printing address or is it printing the ID and the name?
ID and then.
ID.
Because of overriding the toString method. So advantage of overriding is it will make your job easy. Or else, imagine this toString method is not there. Then what would I have done it? I should call get EMP ID. I should call get EMP name. Then I should concatenate it and print it. It will avoid that. This is this here, right? So, any question till this?
Awesome.
Good. So I believe this much is enough. Okay, to start with. And let me have some constructor also for this class. Very, very tough. Let me have another copy of it. Let's say copy. I'm going to paste demo 3. Let us have a demo for it. Okay, in this example.
Sir,
Let us see.
one doubt, sir.
Tell me, please. Tell me, please.
Vinay, yes, sir. So if we do not follow these 4 steps, 4 pointers which you have written, can we call, I mean, in a class, let's say.
It becomes an ordinary class. Usually it is not called a POSIX class. That's it. Okay. When I say plain old Java object, it means simplest possible Java class that you are creating. No problem of okay, unnecessary inheritance. Okay, you just have what data is there. You just do everything using getters and setters method. That's the basic usage of this POJO class. That's it. Okay. Public demo 3. You have it, right? What is this? It is a constructor. So then you have one more constructor. And in this example, let us say int I, and here I'll write a code. This dot I is equal to.
Sir, for the constructor, do we need to specify the access modifier?
If you don't mention it, what will happen? What happens if you don't mention this?
It will.
Class is public, but your constructor becomes default
Local.
package, right?
Okay.
And can I make it as a private? Of course, you can do that. What will happen if you make it as a private? People will not be able to call that. You can create it only inside the class. Outside the class, it is not possible. When do we do this kind of a stuff? You might have heard about one more design pattern called singleton, right? I'm not sure. Okay, in such cases, we can have this concept private. I don't want anybody to create an object. Okay, we'll do. So in this case, let us say how to override the toString methods. We have no R constructor. This is one R constructor. And this is also called as a constructor overloading. What is it called as?
Constructor overloading.
Constructor overloading. And let me have it here. Public toString. is created, and in this, sorry, public string toString. And in this example, I will say return. I want to return the I value. Okay, tell me how to return the I value. What shall I do?
Return.
When I
Return
say
I.
I'll get a problem. Why? I is which data type?
Integer.
But what these two strings should return?
String.
String.
What shall I do?
Dot toString.
Sorry, dot toString. It is I is a primitive type.
no.
We cannot use it. Official way
Integer.
is use the class. Which class?
String.
Value of I.
Hmm.
This is the actual way of doing it. Okay. Another EDA, okay, easiest way is simply instead of this, see this carefully. Return double quote plus I. Anything you concatenate with a string will also become a string. Okay, now this is an empty, nothing is there, not even a space, it will become a string. You can do that. So now in this example, let me just directly print SOP of D. Set the value, get the value, print it. Window, show view, console. It is print 10 and 100. Okay. Why it is printing 10 here? Because once you create a demo3 object, you are calling default constructor and it will retain the initial value. What is the initial value? 10. Or you do one thing, you just write it here. I is equal to 10. Something. So when you create an object by calling default constructor, it is retaining the value which is 10 and it will print it. When you set value, get value, you'll get the latest value. Just whereas same program, I'll do a small changes. So what type of constructor I'm calling now?
Integer.
Parameterized constructor.
One hour constructor.
One constructor, right? What should be the output? I'm directly printing SOP. Will it print address or it will print the value?
It will print the value.
The
Because of overriding the toString. Yes. It is printing 300. Are you able to follow till this?
Yes. Sir.
Yes, sir.
Super. Okay. So whatever we discussed till today, that is more than enough. So what are the important concepts? Number one, POJO class, where you just declare a variable, make them as a private, use getters and setters method. Okay. And when I say POJO class, most of the time, it is very simple class where we don't extend from any other class except the object class. We will have one no-R constructor, and if you want, you can have a default constructors and other things you can have it. And we will always develop a getters and setters method. Yes. Yes.
Where we use this POJO plus, what's use of this?
In the APIs, okay, all the methods that we are developing will be in a POJO class. In the API automation, you start developing the libraries. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
There you will use POJO classes only. Chandra sir will teach that.
Okay. Yeah.
So there we protect the data by making it as a private, and we give access only using the public's getters and setters methods based on the need and necessity. And during runtime, of course, reporting has to be generated. For that reason, we use extend reports. And there are 4 steps that we saw: creating an object of extend report, attaching the report, which is a Spark only for community edition. If you don't have internet connection, remember that report will not be colorful. It will come with a black and white. Okay, simple HTML program you will see. You will not see report only, basically. If you want offline report, you have to purchase a license. So create extend report, attach the report, create a test, keep reporting, logging the status, and finally flush it. And last but not the least, reading the data from the Excel file. We saw that. And in all these scenarios, instead of manually downloading the jar file and updating it, we will take the help of Maven, which automatically takes care of it. So for the entire Maven, we use form.xml. And if anything is there, Chandra sir will teach you the other plugins and so on. Right? So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to end the session. Tomorrow onwards, Chandra sir will continue with the API. I mean, taking this as a base, he will continue that. So recording will be accessible to you. Right? So anything else is there, you will. Okay, na?
Are we using lambda expression in API testing?
As I discussed with Mr. Chandru, I don't think so. In case if it is there, either Chandru sir will teach you or I will teach you lambda expression if it is required. Okay, na?
Okay.
But I
Because
don't think so. As per my discussion, I didn't get to know that there is a lambda expression. If it is there, we'll definitely teach you.
One of my previous project, I was not involved in that project, but they are fully creating that, using that lambda expression for API automation. So that's what.
Oh, maybe. Okay. So I'll discuss with Chandru. Okay. So I may not be discussed it completely. As when I discussed it, these are the topic he said, Banu, it could be better if we just refresh it before getting into the API. If it is required, definitely we'll discuss that. Okay, na?
Sir, and one request, sir, Vinay.
Tell me, Vinay. Tell me, Vinay.
Sir, so what I see during automation, right? Like test cases, mentioning the test cases, either we comment it or like, so it becomes very difficult to track the test cases which are automated. It could be tracked only through the comment. So, I mean, if
tracking
you
in
can,
the sense, sorry, I didn't get your question.
sir,
Tracking
okay.
in the sense?
I'll ask what I need and then I'll come to the problem, sir.
Hmm.
What I need, as in like what every automation tester. So if we know how to write custom annotations, right? So it would be helpful. I mean, so in Google there might be videos, but if you have taught.
So you want to learn writing the annotations, custom annotations?
Custom
Yes,
annotations.
definitely, I'll take one session for you. I mean, for all of you, of course. Okay, na?
Right, sir.
Super.
Or else if you have already taken the session, if the video can be shared, that also helps, sir.
Custom annotations I have not yet taken. Okay, I mean, I used to take it when the offline session. For online session, I have not yet taken. I mean, no recordings are available. Okay. So your batch could be the first one. So we'll see. We'll write on custom annotations and I'll record it and I'll put it back. And you attend the sessions. Okay.
Yes. Sure, sir. Thank you.
Super. So there are two things. One is lambda expression and one more is custom annotations. Good. We'll include it. Anything else?
Sir, yesterday's session was not shared.
Yesterday's session is not shared?
No.
1 second.
It is shared, sir. I was able to